going to call to order the meeting of the Rutherford County Public Safety Committee for Wednesday, January the 28th, 2026. Good to see each and every one of you here this evening. I'm going to ask at this time for my Vice Chairman to bring forth the minutes from the last meeting, and we'll have our approval of those minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've read and looked over our minutes from the last meeting, and I deemed them to be sufficient, so I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It is approved. Do we have any public comments for this meeting? No comments for this meeting. So we'll move into item 3, which deals with our corrections partnership. And we have with us this evening Mayor Carr. We're glad to have you with us this evening. We have several things to discuss in this, and we'll be actually bringing some people in by Zoom. You'll be hearing their comments and going from there. So at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the mayor. Mayor Carr?
Thank you, Chairman Reed. Thank you very much. What we want to share with you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is 2 years where the jail study group has been looking at and trying to assess the problem of a new detention facility. You're going to hear from the Sheriff's Department tonight. You're going to hear from the Independent Study Group tonight with Bob Bass and Jim Hart. You're going to hear from Mr. Klein and some other of the commissioners who served on that study group. The goal tonight is to hopefully move forward with a study for additional information. Tonight is not about, do we build a new facility? Do we renovate a new facility? It's not about how much the facility will cost if we were to do a new facility or renovate a facility. Where we're at literally is we've reached this 2-year study group, which began November 21st, 2023. So we've been doing this for 2 years. And this study group basically is now ready to hand the ball off to Public Safety and the County Commission. And we need additional information by which to assess the county's financial obligation as it relates to mitigating the risk and the impending liability that we have in the next 5 years. And so I want to just take a minute to share with this committee the fact that myself, Commissioner Trey Gooch, Commissioner Pettis Reed, Commissioner Laura Davidson, Sheriff Mike Fitzhugh and his staff, Steve Spence, Keith Lowry, Chris Kaufman, Keith Henderson, and Dr. Rudd, along with Finance Director Michael Smith, Eric Hennessy, my Chief of Staff, Brian Harbaugh, District Attorney Jennings Jones, Judge Jimmy Turner, Judge Terry Fan, and Correctional Work Center Director William Cope and Brian Harbaugh have all been a part of this working group. I hope we have gotten most, if not all, the input necessary to make a determination as to how and what the problem is. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to scope the problem. And these ladies and gentlemen have been absolutely invaluable in this 2-year process. But this working group is now kind of coming to its conclusion, its rightful conclusion. It's now saying, here is what we have found, here's what we've identified as a problem, and now it's our time to pass the baton to this committee. We will also be coming before Property Management tomorrow night in this presentation. But again, all we're here to do is ask, do you want us to continue to study this need and what those potential solutions look like? And so, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that if there are no further questions, I would like to, with your permission, to recognize Commissioner Gooch and yourself, because you both served on this particular working group for 2 years. And if you would share with the committee and the public what your thoughts on the working group to this point, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The working group has spent a lot of time looking at where we are right now. We've even taken the opportunity to go to our present detention center. We've toured it. We've been through it. We In fact, I think the majority of are pretty well familiar with the center, but we gave our own opinion as we went through and toured and looked at everything that was there. We spent a lot of time talking about where we are, what we have, and what the future holds for us. Now, just like everything else we have in this county right now, it's growing. You know, we talk about the number of people that are coming here, the number of people that are building homes, the number of people that are bringing their children, and our schools are growing, and what we have there. Well, not only that, but when you have a crowd of people coming in, you also have those who don't want to behave in the same way everybody else does. So you have to provide space for them too. Well, as our numbers increase in this county, those numbers increase also. And it affects everything. It affects everything in that detention center. Not only the fact of the building becomes overcrowded, your personnel. The more personnel you'll need as far as that goes too. But also within our judicial system over here, the court systems that we have to take care of this situation that we have. So we've looked at it all, I think. You know, when you spend that much time and you look at this many different things, there's a lot of it starts running in all different directions. We've looked at other facilities elsewhere. We've had things shown to us that what we want and whatever. It's sort of like you come down to that day, you've got so much money and you want to buy a new car, and then all of the features start showing up, and you've got to decide what you want. Well, there's only so much that you can spend, and there's only so many things we can do to fix our problem. So that's where we are right now. We're going to have to start looking and trying to make a decision on what we do and how we do it. In my personal opinion here, the current facility we have right now is something we just really can't go back to. We just don't have the facility there to go with added construction. But I think we've had a good committee that's been picked by the mayor to work on this, to bring it back to the commission, to bring it back to the public, to let them know what we've got. So I'll turn it over to my fellow commissioner and get his opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mayor, and colleagues. It was an honor to serve on this study group for the last couple of years, and quite frankly, I learned a lot about our public safety, about our jail, and the needs out there. This jail, the current jail, as you know, was built with our population being around 200,000. And today we're approaching, suppose 400,000, fourth largest county in the state of Tennessee. And so one thing that I learned the most is that we're going to get a new jail. We just need to decide who's going to be responsible for building the new jail. Would it be local folks, or would it be the federal government? And hopefully that we all will come to the conclusion that it needs to be local folks, to put our ideas, to study the situation. When this jail was built, it had a core infrastructure for 500 inmates. And that 500 core is still there, but we currently have quite often, many days, over 1,000. And it's, for the safety maximum number is about 830. And so you see the need. And this study group concluded, A, that we do have a need for a new jail, and that more than likely it needs to be built on a new location. And so that's our recommendation. We're sending that to the Public Safety Committee, and I believe next it goes to Property Management and on to Budget. So hopefully I would encourage you to look at this programming stage very carefully, and that will be our next step, is to look at the programming stage. And a lot of questions that you may have today may not be able to be answered, but during and after the programming stage, I believe every question that we have pretty much will be answered. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Chairman Reed. Again, I want to remind the committee, we're not going to solve the problem tonight of a new jail or renovate an existing jail. We're not going to solve tonight what the construction cost would be for a renovation or a new facility, or where that new facility potentially would be located. All this working group is asking for you it came with a unanimous recommendation that we need to continue the study. That next deep study would be the programming phase that would make the determination at what those subsequent costs may be if we were to move forward. And Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I think we can go ahead and get started. And I'd like to ask Sheriff Fitzhugh to come up and give us kind of a history, if that's okay, a brief history of our current facility and in his opinion, how we got to the place where it got overpopulated and in such a state of disrepair to the extent that, according to Mr. Bass, we are on the cusp, if we don't do something, of getting decertified. And I want to make sure I say that correctly and that I'm factually correct. So if I misstate, by all means, correct me, because we have to be correct here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is, everyone in the commission has been given this study that Jim Hart from CTAS did in 2025, February 2025. This is the second study that he has done for us. We did one back in 2020, and we're at this stage back in 2020, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, then of course, obviously, because of some rulings from the Supreme Court and through the governor, our population went down because anybody that was sentenced on a misdemeanor charge, non-felon and whatnot, were turned loose to come back to court at a later date. So obviously, during that period of time, our population decreased. Now we're at the stage where the population has come back up. Those that were released, we're getting several failures to appear now. And so now we're bringing them back into the fold into the commission. What I'd like to do, Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is Jim Hart with County Technical, and he did the actual study. And Jim, if you could just briefly go over your findings on that, and then we'll take it from there.
Just in general, Sheriff, the words that have already been spoken are pretty much on point to what we've been talking about throughout this process. The study that I did, when you start thinking about jail planning or looking at the jail in the future, the first thing you have is that you recognize that there's an issue, that there's challenges. In this case, you have a growing community, you have an aging facility, you have a manpower-intensive facility, you have some internal issues with the physical planning of your facility that are going on. So we're identifying that we know we have some of those challenges. The next part of that process is for the needs assessment that I did, or that I did part of. The needs assessment starts looking at general operational practices, history as it relates to inmates in custody, the types of inmates in custody, gives some projections based on several components that I assessed that are inside the report, make some suggestions regarding the types of beds that are needed, and to look at things, to have discussions regarding the actual operations of the facility, specifically manpower costs that are going to be associated with either considering an expansion or considering a new modern facility design that keeps in mind the manpower costs and operational costs in mind there. The other piece of that puzzle that was suggested in that study is that part of the information that you need to understand or need to know is what we don't see on the surface. And that is this next phase of the information gathering, if you will, to support any kind of decisions or consideration for decisions. And that information gathering is going to tell us, how much more life does our building have that we use? Is it feasible to, are the systems, electrical, mechanical, the physical plant, is it feasible to continue on with buildings that are in their late 30s and late 40s to move forward and then expand on that? So that's where we are right now, and where I think that the best next step in the way that it's been portrayed in this discussion so far in our discussions with the working group is to start exploring the next pieces of information that are going to be essential for any kind of decisions to be made in the future. One thing that my projections go out to the year 2045. The community is growing. This process of any kind of decisions that are made of moving along, should any type of movement of expansion or renovation of existing facility, whatever it may be, we're talking years down the road before that will actually come to fruition. Today, you have a crowded facility, and those numbers are increasing. So those are just things that we need that report has brought out as pieces of information for decision makers to look at, to contemplate as you start moving forward. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, thank you, Jim. The other gentleman that has joined us by Zoom is Bob Bass with Tennessee Corrections Institute. And Bob, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yes, I want to thank the working group for their efforts. I want to say they have worked really hard. They've asked all the right questions. They've been really engaged, and I appreciate what the commissioner said, and I do think they all learned a lot about jails. My part of this is working for Tennessee Corrections Institute. I am over the County Corrections Partnership, and that is a voluntary effort we've done to help jails overcome these problems. Your jail capacity is at 960, and at 1 o'clock today, it had 1,055 inmates. So we do an inspection annually. I can't tell you when we're going to come. That's what the code says. It's unannounced. But as I spoke to you last year at one of your meetings, I told you that in all probability in 2026, you would be under a plan of action. So a plan of action is something that's developed to allow you to remain certified while you're trying to fix your problems. So that's your off-ramp. If we inspected that jail today, you would join a list of about 18 counties that would be under a plan of action. So, again, I can't tell you when we're coming, but it looks like the wolf's no longer at the door. He's coming into the house, so to speak. And we're going to help you with that. We'll help you to develop that plan of action. What I'm so proud of is your working group and the mayor's efforts and Mr. Chairman, yourself, that what Rutherford County has done has been proactive. They listened to us and recognized this problem a couple years out before it got here. And so now we're here, and I really appreciate that. I can't tell you how many counties wait until the patient is on its last heartbeat, and then they call TCI and say, what can you do? Or they call Jim and myself. So throughout this process, whatever the decision is made, we're going to support that. We're going to support a plan of action for you. We're going to help you retain that certification so it's not in jeopardy because of the efforts that you're doing, 100%. So that's what I'm here for, and to help support that effort any way possible that I can. Thank you, Sheriff.
I believe the mayor has a question.
Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to this committee what exactly is a plan of action and why that is important? Because I think you said, and correct me if I'm mistaken or misspoke, that if you were to inspect today with that population that's out there, we would go under a plan of action. What is the significance of that to this committee and to the county commission? Thank you.
So the plan of action can only be issued if you have fixed ratio deficiencies. And those are not enough square footage for inmates, not enough toilets, not enough showers. So that is totally relative to being overcrowded. So we inspect the jail unannounced, and then we make a decision if it meets our 460 some odd standards. If it does not, then we come back to that jail in 60 days and re-inspect it. At that point in time, you would file for the plan of action if it is fixed ratio deficiencies. Now, that's the only thing you can get a plan of action for. You obviously can't get a plan of action for procedural things that can be corrected. It's just because of overcrowding. And as most of the gentlemen have talked about tonight, that takes some time. We don't expect you to fix that overnight. So that means that now you have to work with TCI monthly. Every month after that, you have to give us an update, make us aware where your population is, and then give us some words on what your progress is. We call it measurable progress. So our Board of Control looks at that. They also require at that point that you have a county correction partnership. So that is one of our rules. Well, you, like I said before, you've been proactive. You've already established the county correction partnership with this working group. So that's done. Now, they report monthly, and they have to do that by coming to the board. So you and the sheriff would be required to stand in front of the board and say, we do have a problem, we've recognized it, we've outlined some ideas on how to correct it, it's going to take some time. These are the measures that we are taking. A jail that's not under a plan of action doesn't even have to appear before the board. They're literally recommended on a list, they pass it, and or decertified. So we only have 6 facilities in the state of Tennessee that are decertified. We have 125 facilities across the state. So that's what it means. It is a little more work, paperwork, and we actually have to pull people together and do like you're doing. You've been proactive in that fact. Start working on what a solution would be. I hope that answered your question, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. Bob or Jim, we go through this presentation, jump in anywhere where I make a slip and correct me, okay? All right. What I'm going to do is kind of go back and give a little history of where we are. The original sheriff's office at the location that we are now at 940 was completed in 1987. So taking that, a jail averages 3.5 years per year of life. So the building is aging 3.5 years every year that it's there. So the original structure right now is aged at 133 years. The annex, as we now call it, was the first structure there. And when it was completed for 14 cells, 7 up, 7 down. Our cells are tiered, so each floor is a tiered, so it's a double decker. And we had 84 inmate, single cell for 84 inmates. At that time, we had a total of 88 employees in 1987. Moving forward, we did a high-rise addition completed in 1998, and that structure rated at 3.5 years per year is at 94.5 years of use. The reason we arrive at that is a jail never closes, the water always runs, the lights are always on, the toilets are always flushing, so it's not like a residential or even a commercial building where at 4:30, 5 o'clock, everything shuts down, everybody goes home. We're still operating and the lights are still on. We're feeding 3 meals a day. Our medical is still there. So everything is 365, 24 hours a day. When the high-rise was completed, it gave us a addition of 9-story building with administration on the first floor and inmate pods on the remaining floor. Each floor contained 4 pods for a total for 2 tiers per floor for a total of 100 inmates per floor. So total of 400. So at that time, you take the 400 plus the 84 that we had in the annex and say 484 is what we had. In 98, when we completed that structure, we had 282 employees. And we were estimating, because as when we change systems, then we lose some of our data, but we're estimating at that time that we had about 400, 450 inmates when we opened it. Between 2000 and 2005, we added the second bunk because of growth and probably because of the inmate population growing. We came in and added a second bunk to each cell. And then at that completion, after doing that over a 5-year period, it brought our capacity to 868 So double bunks in each cell. These are cells that were originally made and constructed on square footage for a single inmate. The bunks were side by side, so at a later date, because of the capacity of the square footage, you've got to have 35 square feet per inmate in a double cell. We could not meet that capacity, so we had to open up a little bit more, so we had to take the bunks and stack them as opposed to being side. So we came back and redid that. Didn't gain any capacity, but we gained a little square footage. TCI standards are that if you have less than that square footage per inmate, you cannot lock the inmates up for more than 10 hours per day. So it's got to be less. So because of that, in the day room, which is the room outside of all the cells, we have to leave the cell doors open 14 hours a day. This is a safety hazard, obviously. We have one person, sometimes two, but most of the time one that does a rover that goes through there. So you've got 50 plus inmates in there and one of our personnel going through. We have nurse calls where we have to have nurses in there escorted by one of our detention officers. So it does cause a crowded condition, but it also causes a safety situation. Tennessee Corrections Institute states that full capacity is 85% of the total capacity to allow inmate classifications and population surges. So we are certified for 977 capacity, but with the 85% rating on it, then we are considered full at 830. What that allows us to do, there are some inmates that we cannot house together. They've got to be separated and they've got to be in segregation. We've got mental health situations where these people have to be in a cell by themselves. When you have population surges where we have weekenders come in, we've got to have some place to put them. Obviously, you can't classify them and put them in on high-risk situations, so in some instances, you've got to have single cell there. The other problem we've got is weekenders, and because of suicide watch, our booking area, which is the intake area where all inmates coming in and out of our facility go through booking, we're taking those cells up for segregation in some instances. We're taking them up for mental health in some instances. We're taking them up for suicide watch in some instances. So it's not only impacting our high-rise and our low-rise cells, but it's impacting our booking area. Booking has about 2,200 inmates going in and out of that facility just in the booking area alone per month. So it's very active. The facility was built, and when it was built, our laundry, our kitchen, the storage space, the loading dock and everything was built for a facility far smaller inmate capacity than what we've got right now. Today we had 1,055 inmates. We have not gotten below 1,000 in a month, 2 months. Actually, it's been longer. That's pretty well where we look like we're stabilizing right now. The question comes up, and where Bob was talking about as far as on a decertification, if we are decertified because of crowding capacity, that's a solution I can't solve. If it's because of paperwork, if it's because of an improper procedure or whatever, that's something I can correct, and that's a 60-day period to correct that if they find something. As Bob mentioned, when they come in, I think there's some 19 areas that they look at. There's some 464 items that we've got to meet when they come in to inspect us. TCI will not tell me when they're coming. We arrive, and then one day there's 3 of them standing in our lobby and say, we're here. And it's a surprise inspection. So far, since 2017, when I took office, we recertified a jail in 2017, and we have had no defects every year since then. My concern is because of our capacity, we are approaching the point where there's not anything I can do to correct that. If we're decertified because of capacity, as long as we have a plan of action, and this is what Bob spoke to, a plan of action in place, and we call it an active plan of action. You can't have a document that says this is what we're going to do, and then it just sits there and we don't do anything. Bob spoke of a board of control that controls Then will the sheriffs have to come before them? I sit on that board of control. And we have had to decertify some people where they had a plan of action in place, but it's been sitting there for 5, 6, and 7 years, and they have made no movement whatsoever. Several board meetings ago, we elected and then we decertified those facilities. So the standard states it's got to be an active plan of action. This is my interest, is to try to get ahead of this situation. I know we're at a point where, what year is it going to be? I think we're approaching that now, where we will be decertified or in status of decertified because of crowding. But if we got a plan of action in place, which is what we're doing now and trying to get ahead of the game, and we are actively working towards a solution, then we will keep our certified status. We'll still have to go before the Board of Control and present what we're doing. And of course, they vote on that. I won't get to vote on that for us. So. But anyway, that's kind of an idea. And kind of give you an idea, our Sally Port right now is built basically for a van and 2 cars. We're servicing Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, MTSU, THP, TWRA, MTSU, MPD. All those agencies are bringing inmates to us. So we service those, and so sometimes it gets right crowded in that Sally Port where you've got people parking outside in an unsecured area walking somebody into the Sally Port, which you talk about dangerous. That's it. The jail was built, and why it was this way, we've got an employee entrance, a bondsman entrance, and a Sally Port all at the same location. Makes totally no sense to me whatsoever. You got a recipe for disaster. And up until 2017, we were one of the few facilities in the state that was not secured. We had no fencing. It was wide open. We would find people wandering all over the place back there. It's very unnerving to be in a Sally Port unloading a prisoner and turn around, there's somebody standing on your shoulder. You have no idea who they are. So we fenced the area because of that. Since 2017, we have spent almost $11 million on that jail, on that facility, maintaining it and trying to keep it up. So that's kind of where we are today. I want to show you, if I can, see if we can do this. It's supposed to be on here somewhere. Can you switch me over to our presentation?
To the other presentation?
Yeah, there should be the other one. It's the other PowerPoint. It's the one with the flag on it. All right, really what I want to do with these pictures, these are in this book, but I wanted to give you an idea, not to speak to them per se, but to kind of give you an idea of a facility that was built for 200 employees, 100 employees, and now we got 671, and then for 500 inmates as opposed to 1,055. But this is the Sally Port that we were talking about. We are in the midst right now. All 4 doors are worn out. So we, what is it, 58,000? We're getting ready to have to spend on all 4 and replace all 4 of the doors to the Sally Port. So they're worn out because of the use, but obviously you can get, sometimes you can get 4 cars in there, but it gets pretty tight when you got somebody needing to get out of there in a hurry. But that's the Sally Port that was built. That's kind of another picture of it. This is the property room. We have to store, every inmate that comes in has got clothing and whatnot. So this is the area where we have to store those. They're stored in bags and hung up on racks. That's another look at it, but obviously this room was not built for 1,055 inmates. That's another look at it. This is the intake room where we take all supplies, where all your food, clothing and whatnot where we have to clothe them, feed them, medical, all supplies come in here, and it's a very small facility. Here again, this is kind of a look at this is about the room we've got. This is what we call an indoor rec, and this was the original indoor rec area for the first building built in 1987. We now are using it as multi-purpose. We do hold video court in this building, or in this room, and there it is right there. We've screened it off. We do have, that's the only room we've got where we do inmate programs. So it's the only room we've got to do that. So obviously, if we had a space to where we could do more programs, then hopefully because of programs, we could reduce recidivism. This is the cage where we bring people down where they're in video court, and we lock them up until their time is called. This is a weight room. We've got a requirement everybody keep themselves in physical shape, but we ran out of room for our people. So we've converted this, and this is a small room where we've got 8 employees working in there. Normal desks will not fit in there, so we have inmates that's made those desks. So those are all inmate constructed. That's the other side of it. We've got one loading dock. That's it for the entire facility. It's behind the building, so when you get a tractor trailer in there, it's interesting watching them trying to get into this space. We do have separation on some of the concrete now and everything because the building in some areas is starting to sink. Because of that, we have a conduit that came in that was bringing our fiber and everything for our IT section. It crushed, and every time it rained, we had water actually spouting up into our server room. So we had to pour concrete in that and move our server room because of that, because the building was sinking. And that's just another look at the freight entrance. This is the laundry. We've got 4 machines. Obviously, it wasn't built for 1,000 inmates. It was built for 500. Unfortunately, we had a dryer overheat a few years back, and the room caught on fire, and all the equipment in there had to be replaced. So another look at the laundry room. This is a typical inmate shower, cinder block, and you can obviously, with cinder block and water, it does not mix well. But that's one of the problems that we've got now is you can paint it and it just won't last very long. And this is, we got inmates on CPAP machines and whatnot, and we have to run extension cords into the cells too, because we do not have PAWS set up for medical. So we make do with what we've got. This is a slide that Bill Cope put together for us, and Bill, thank you, because it gives you an idea of build or not build, and you can read it. I'm not going to read it for you, but it gives you an idea of 2 choices. If we build, what it solves, and if we don't build, what problems it would bring on. Basically here, what happens if we don't build is just more of a situation of overcrowding will increase, legal and financial aid will, risk will grow. These are key impacts. Staff safety and detention will decline. Required care becomes harder to deliver. Public safety decisions driven by space, not risk. Long-term cash increase, and bottom line, not building jails, not We have a declining facility, and it's not built for what we're doing with it right now. It's not built for the number of employees. Kind of give you an idea, in 1980 and 1990 population, so I just figured an average between those, and the population was averaged around 108,215 in 1987. That's Rutherford County population. In 1998, figured 169,380. Today, the county is sitting at right at 380,000, probably a little bit more than that, but that's the last number I could find. So not only have you seen a growth in the inmate population, but as the population of the county grows, then so do we. We have built many, many schools since 1987 because of population growth. The jail, we have not done anything other than the high rise, but other than that, there's been one expansion, and that's been it in that same period of time. And I understand the need for building schools, but then the downside to that side is I've got that same problem at the jail, is we've got a growth of people too that we're not accommodating at this time. We have a facility that is becoming increasingly hard to maintain. I've got a maintenance staff that's grown from one person to where we've got 8 or 9 in the maintenance department. We've got 122 inmates that are in trustee status helping us keep this jail going. The mayor came and visited with us, and I think he got a surprise one day. We took him back to the maintenance shop and had inmates working on these little mechanical, look like locks. And it was, and he asked the question, what are they doing? Well, they're making component parts for our cell doors, because our cell doors, locks, you can't buy them anymore. To replace a lock, it starts around $2,500 per cell, and you can go up to whatever. But I've got inmates that are making parts for the locks. Smart. I mean, you figure somebody knows how to get into a lock, they can do it. So we have trained them well. But that's what it's taking, is it's about 122. I've got to have trustees on each floor to maintain the cleanliness to some extent. But on the outside of the mowing and all the other things that goes on, we've got a lot of tradesmen that are in our facility, and we put them to good use. So we've got some really good tradesmen. And so we use them as much as we can. But that's pretty much the presentation on the jail part. Chief Kaufman is going to talk about the law enforcement, because that's another whole side. He's got, pretty much, the chief's got everything that Kevin Henderson in detention doesn't have, then the chief's got the rest of it. So I won't put you on the spot.
Thank you, Commissioners, for spending the evening with us on this. I'm going to try to be real brief. As the sheriff said, I have all the law enforcement operations. So with the jail, you hear about the jail. The whole other side, there's another side of that, and it's law enforcement operations. So that's patrol, warrants, records, SROs, detective division, anything to do with the enforcement side. So we have several divisions that I supervise. In this, I have a PowerPoint. I'll just kind of go over it with you, kind of give you an idea how our law enforcement operations are laid out. So basically the purpose of this is to provide an overview of how our staffing and growth and operational demands have outpaced this facility in capacity, resulting in significant limitations in effective efficiency, causing problems with our training, our evidence, security, and long-term sustainability of law enforcement operations. As you can see, this is an overview of the jail. It was taken just a couple of days ago with one of our drones. Another slide here is, this is the front view. We have 3 facilities that manage our law enforcement operations. You have the main facility there, that's the first level there next to the tower the sheriff is referring to in the high-rise building. And then the level up front is 964. That's our CID building that we have. And then we have a third building that is in a confidential location. It's our narcotics building. So basically, we're running an operations that used to be under one roof in 3 different buildings at 3 different locations. So you're multiplying all those infrastructure resources that those buildings require. When you talk about the buildings, and you heard the sheriff refer to the sheriff's office opened in 1987, and it had 88 total employees. That was jail and law enforcement side. Is this on? Can y'all hear me? Sorry about that. All right. So basically, you heard him refer to the 88 total people. 53 of those are law enforcement personnel. Again, detectives, CID, narcotics, patrol, records and such. At that time, the building that you see, the single story in the main building there, was 18,645 square feet. Fast forward to 2025, and I now have 383 law enforcement personnel that I supervise. With that, it's about a 623% increase in staffing. As you can see, we only increased the square footage of that building by almost slightly to 1,000 square feet to 19,000. So as a result, we had to outsource and get other buildings to staff our personnel. The facility growth has remained largely static with staffing, and the service demands have increased exponentially. As a result, we've had to eliminate our weight room, like the sheriff said, turn storage closets and restrooms into functional office space. And for that building there's only 6 restrooms, 3 male and 3 female. Those aren't industrial-sized restrooms where there's multiple commodes and sinks. That's like a residential restroom with 1 commode and 1 sink, so forth. Makes it pretty difficult at times. The overcrowding and fragmentation, talking about the CID building down front, it's about 14,000 square feet. It houses our CID division, which is our detectives, SROs, training, our special operations division, SWAT. It houses about 60 employees daily work out of that building. With that being said, there's only 30 parking slots. So they have to park outside the fence, much like the sheriff was talking about, and walk in, which is not very, very safe, of course. We've had to turn closets and common areas, convert them into offices. Record storage is maxed out. We have no more room for our records in there. They have to be taken to archives, and archives is about full. Our narcotics building is 16,000 square feet, and it houses 22 investigators. It has only 3 bathrooms as well. Since the purchase of that building in 2017, so we've had it been there about 8 years, we've already spent $108,000 in repairs on our HVAC systems and other things. So it's kind of been a money pit. This is our training room. We only have 1 training room that we have full access to. And it houses about, as you can see, it's pretty small in the upper picture there. It can have about 20 students is all we can have. And typically our training division is running multiple classes. Sometimes we're running 2 or 3 classes a week, so we have to outsource to other locations. EMA is really gracious. We get to go over there, things like that. But the problem is obviously scheduling and getting those. Oftentimes we've had to cancel classes because we didn't have the room or the class space. This directly impacts our readiness, our deputies' compliance and officer safety, because we're not able to train like we would like. Another thing about that training is we don't have a defensive tactics room, like Murfreesboro has a defensive tactics room. Why that's important is so that we can stay skilled at proper use of force and things like that. What we have to do is Riverdale's gracious enough to allow us to come over and use their wrestling room when they're not training there. So we go over there. This is our evidence room. Right now it's holding about 9,000 pieces of evidence. This is the main room. Outside of that, and I'll show you a picture in a minute, we have connexes that house a lot of evidence as well. The problem with this is this building's not storm rated. It's not, if a strong winds or a tornado comes through, it can blow evidence away. Obviously, some of that evidence is for cases that are still open or in court. If that evidence blows away and it ends up in Nashville, that would not be good. We just lose it. So it's preferred that evidence rooms, evidence buildings are inside a main hardened structure so that it can keep that from happening. As you can see up there in the top, I don't know, my pointer, it won't work up there, but that evidence building is up in the top corner where that looks like an impound line. That's actually what it is. Those Connex boxes and buildings around that has other evidence in it. And of course, those aren't fastened to the ground in any way, can obviously go away in a bad storm. The core issue here is the Rutherford County population growth has driven increases in crime, investigations, warrants, evidence collection, our digital storage, specialized enforcement units. We've had to add those to the agency to help us. And the sheriff's office facilities could no longer meet the current operational demands, and there's no room for internal expansion. We've remodeled and remodeled and remodeled. There's no more room. The current state of our facilities is a contributing factor to our inability to retain people. We have people leave because they can go to other agencies that have more facilities that offer more of the things that we're talking about that we lack. Pretty much in a nutshell, this is the building, the sheriff's office, where we work every day in 1987 before the tower was built, a long time ago. And pretty much the bottom line with all this is that we've reached a critical infrastructure threshold where this building was designed nearly 40 years ago, and it just can't maintain and house the current staffing levels that we have. And as we continue to grow with staffing alone, we've already outgrown this building. I have people that are in units that don't have offices. They work off a conference room table with a laptop to do their reports and things. So, thank you. Sheriff, that's all I got. Yes, sir.
Thank you. This pretty well wraps up as far as where we have been and where we've gotten to now. One thing I did want to mention, we're wholly undersized and spaced for medical. In our facility in 2025, we had 70,782 medical encounters. Doctor's office would love to have that kind of business, but it's almost 71,000 medical encounters a year is what our medical staff is working with. So it's a busy place that we've got. If nobody has any questions on that part of it, what I would like to do is Bart Klein, invite him up to wrap up the presentation that we've got today from the working group. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. 1,055
Yes, sir.
inmates there today.
Yes, sir.
Out of that many, do you know how many are approximately Rutherford County citizens? Do you have any idea?
Every inmate we've got is charged with, I don't know where they're from, but I know they're charged with a crime in Rutherford County. We're not housing anybody that's not charged with a crime here.
And also, I don't know if the committee needs to answer it or the mayor needs to answer it, but we start this process now.
Yes, sir.
And it'll take several years, up to 5, maybe even 6 years to complete the process. At some point in time, there'll be a financial obligation, and I'm certain that that's still several years off too before we commit to some building financial. And maybe one other thing, the process will evaluate whether we expand on our current property or whether it's long-term in the best interest of Rutherford County citizens to build someplace else.
Yes.
So all of those things will be answered during the process.
That's correct.
If I could, yeah,
Please.
exactly, Mr. Chairman. Those questions won't be answered tonight. they will be answered at the conclusion, in part, at the programming phase. And so literally there are 4 go, no-go waypoints in this process. And that's the literal term. We can decide to go forward or not. We always have the availability to do nothing. That is always within our purview. Now, that comes with certain risk, but that still is a choice we can make. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to outline this, that we get to each one of these steps, the commission has a decision to make. And that decision doesn't necessarily infer that you're going to make a subsequent decision. Each decision stands on its own. So tonight is to enter what the working group recommends is going to the programming phase to determine what those potential construction design costs would be, whether it be renovation of the current facility, or do we build a new facility in another location, or do we do nothing? And so we need more information before we can make those determinations, and that's what tonight's meeting is about.
Yeah, I think that's well said, because right now, none of us know. I mean, it's a typical, if you've got a high-rise facility that we've got, we're operating 5 jails, because each floor has to be staffed identically. So, you know, then you get into the question, you go out and you go up, but that depends on where is it. So all those questions in the programming stage is what we would look at. They'll come around and talk to every division, and then look at it, and then hopefully answer some of those questions. Any other?
Mr. Chair, I've got one. Go ahead.
No, go.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I can go first.
Go for it.
While y'all doing that. Thank you for your presentation. Question, I guess this might be to our visitors on Zoom. Like accreditation, is certification voluntary? Is that a voluntary process?
Certification is awarded after the inspection, and that is mandated by law. So by law, we have to inspect each jail. If a jail loses its certification, it doesn't stop us from inspecting it. We continue to do that.
Okay, so that's my next question. So what is the impact on decertification on operations? That was my next question.
That's a great question. So the first thing that happens is the liability issue. So I like to refer TCI and CTAS to what Jim does is part of your risk management, a big part of it. So if you're not certified, that opens up liability that you don't want to be involved in. There are attorneys contacting us on a regular basis, just asking us who has lost their certification. So it makes it a little easier for them to go into a courtroom, especially if it's a 1983 civil action violation, and say you're not running a constitutional jail, because that's basically what you're saying. When you're certified, our standards, which are codified, by the way, our standards are based on the U.S. Constitution, Tennessee state constitution, laws, and decisions made by the court. So losing that certification is going to increase that liability. The next part of that is, if you lose that certification, is accreditation. So now we do a program called accreditation, which is separate from certification. These are jails that meet standards that help with programs. And that's one of the things that you're doing really well at in Rutherford County. Actually, we bring a lot of guests into Rutherford County to tour and look at your programs, especially those at the jail and over at the workhouse. So that becomes an issue. Accreditation allows you to be paid more money for a state inmate. So, and it's a lot of money. It's an honor to have that, and you're accredited. So you would lose that, and in order to get it back, you'd have to be certified 2 years consecutively. The other part of that is, and I think they're all equally important, but that is training. Our board of control that Sheriff Fitzhugh mentioned that he sits on, they elected a long time ago. They made a decision that we will not hold training at a jail that is not certified, and I understand that. So your officers, to reach and get their certification, which is continuous education, 40 hours each year, they would have to leave your county. You'd have to provide transportation and maybe in some cases overnight stays. So it would be a big hit to your budget. So certification is very, very important. You know, neither Jim nor I, Commissioner, like to do the Chicken Little speech. I hate that. And the 12 years that I've been working with the County Correction Partnership, unfortunately, I've had to make those remarks. And some people may say, well, Bob, you're saying the sky's falling. And, you know, we look outside and it's not. You know, overcrowding a jail is not unconstitutional. The Supreme Court says that. They've ruled on that already. It's not the overcrowding, it's what happens inside the jail when you do overcrowd. So now we're talking about not meeting classification. We're putting the wrong compatible inmate into a cell that's not compatible. We're putting people in places where they might contract medical diseases, things like that. So that's so important that we have a jail that's certified. It's doing everything it can to meet our standards and to protect you from those lawsuits. In Shelby County, and Tennessee has a rich history of that. Shelby County alone went through this. I was part of that 11 years. They stayed in federal court. The Department of Justice came in, and when they come in and set up camp, I'll tell you, they never leave. They won't leave. And that was cost to the taxpayers to Shelby County, told to me by their chief of accounting, was $1 billion. Called the James Little case. You can look that up and Google it. Horrible case where the jail was ruled unconstitutionally violent. It was an overcrowded jail. So the overcrowding itself is not unconstitutional. It's what happens when you overcrowd the jail and you can't do all these standards and meet all the things with classification like we talked about tonight. So that's an excellent question. I was hoping that would come up tonight so we can talk about losing certification is not a pathway to go. That just makes no sense whatsoever when it's in your power to do something about it. So thank you for that question. Thank you very much.
So as a follow-up, since you brought up Shelby County, they were never decertified. So they had a plan of action and they proceeded in that effort. Is that correct?
That is not correct. They were decertified. They lost their certification for almost that entire 11 years because they couldn't get together to get a plan together, and so a federal judge got them a plan together. So once they started working on what the federal court decreed was, they gained their certification back, and I was there. I was the inspector. I remember the day I did the news brief with all the TV cameras and awarded them their certification, but it was absent for 11 years. Absolutely. They lost their certification because they didn't do, not having a plan and not working to correct this that's nothing. That's not helpful. And that's what it cost them. So that's where they're at now. They're certified now. Absolutely.
So can you tell me where I can find that information? Because I looked for it and I found where they had a plan of action and that they were on probation, but I never found that they fully lost their certification. So can you tell me where I can find that information? You
can go back to you're going to find, I don't know that you're going to find any of that when you Google the James Little case, but I can get you that information. I can get you a history of that. I'd be happy to do that. If you'll provide me your email, I'd be happy to send you everything I can on that. I don't know that I still have the decree, but I'll reach out and get any of that information you want and be happy to.
Okay, that'll be perfect. Because in preparation for this, I was looking at that. And so I didn't find anything. I did find the information relative to security issues, staffing, all the issues that they had that brought them under their plan of action, but I never saw where they actually lost their certification. So I would love to get that information.
I would be happy to provide that for you. Every time I go into the lobby, they have a copy of the commercial appeal, and I have to be, it's part of my ego. I have to point people to say, look at that picture. They have they had the entire thing blown up, and there I am, and it says Bob Bass gives certification back to Shelby County Jail. But that was a result of an 11-year loss and all the things that they had to do to bring it back, and that was increasing staff. It was changing out how they operated. Their operational went from to indirect supervision, and 2 complete floors had to go to direct supervision. So they had to do construction. They had to build a facility, move their females out. They built a 350-bed facility to house their females. All that was part of that decree, and it's just really hard to get to the point. But when I did my certification there, I was already working with them on getting an exit out of that. So, but that does happen, and Shelby's not just one of those cases. When you lose that certification, it's like this, Commissioner. This may be more than you want, but I want everybody in the room to understand really how it works. It puts TCI in a spot. So if they bring a lawsuit against you because of conditions of confinement, and that jail is antiquated, that jail's got all those issues, you can't classify it properly, they're going to subpoena me. They're going to subpoena Jim Hart. And if you're not certified, when we go into that courtroom, well, which side of the court am I going to be sitting on? I'm going to be sitting behind the plaintiff, and that's not where I want to be. I've spent my life, 36 years in this business. I'm a former jail administrator. I'm dedicated to those correctional professionals and those people that want to do the right thing and run a proper jail. And you have some amazing people there at Rutherford County that are doing an amazing job, and they want to run a right jail. But we're going to have to work through this process to get them what they need, very much so.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I do have some additional questions, but I'll defer to my colleagues. But sounds like the issue of overcrowding is not just with inmates, but it's with staff as well.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Beverly.
That feeds right into my question. Tell me about how this is affecting your training abilities overall. Are you having to pivot more to online training because you just don't have space?
Well, we've got virtual training, but as you know, for a 2-hour class, you sit there for 2.5, 3, 4 hours trying to get 2 hours credit. You've got to have a computer to do that. And so that takes a person away during work time to be doing that, where we can send them to a class. The problem I've got right now, as Chris alluded to, I don't have facilities to train at our location. We've got one training room. So we're constantly looking to go someplace else. The other problem I've got is move it from the law enforcement side to the detention side, is we have no program rooms. So there's a lot of programs more that we could be offering to inmates that we can't because we have no room to do it. We've got an indoor rec area that I showed you where we do some training, but the problem there is if we have a court and everything, we've got to vacate that so we can hold video court. I've got one room, Chief, I think I'm right, it's just one for attorneys to come and visit. So I'm transporting 300 and something inmates to the courthouse just now, just for attorney visits, not going to court. So we simply just don't have the space for attorneys to come over and meet with their client. I don't have the space to train for inmates, and I don't have the space to train our personnel.
And my point being, certainly virtual training has a place in our field doing this. However, it can't fully replace the in-person aspect. And it sounds like you're being held back in that by space limitations.
Well, there's no interaction on virtual training. It's me sitting up here talking to you. You can't talk to me. You can't ask questions. You know, you lose a lot. And any training I've been to where there's a group of people in that class, I learn more from the people I'm in the class with and the interaction between the instructor and myself as opposed to sitting there looking at a TV tube. And that's basically all you're doing. You lose a lot.
It's a trickle-down investment. This will go all the way down to the folks working on the street or interacting with the inmates.
Correct.
We're investing in a facility, but it trickles all the way down to them.
Mm-hmm. And Bob made a very good point. When you are in a decertified status, which we were in 2016, we lose our ability to train here for detention. You cannot train where you're decertified. So we have to send people out of town to get that training. So there's another reason, small as it may be, but a very good reason to stay certified. So,
Thank you, sir.
yes, sir.
Mr. James?
Got a couple kind of different directions to just inquire for my working knowledge. How much does it cost us per inmate?
$93 a day.
93 per day. How much do we get reimbursed from the state per
41.
41? What's on our 1,055 inmates, what's the ratio, what's the percentage that are state inmates that we're holding and housing? And what's the percentage of waiting for trial, initial trial?
I've got approximately 500 non-sentenced, and the rest are sentenced.
So that's almost 50%?
Yeah, roughly.
Waiting for
Yeah.
trial? Okay. What's the overall average ratio that would be? Is that a normal percentage?
It runs pretty normal. Yeah.
Pretty normal, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking as we go through this study to figure out what we need, some kind of working numbers to keep in my mind to hope to see to come back. Would it value us to, I don't know if the study will include this or not, if it doesn't, would it value us to look at the idea of separating the officer in the detention as far as out of facility to a separate facility or a detached facility so you don't have this overcrowding everybody, both your patrol and your detention kind of on top
I
of
can't
each other?
really answer it because that's what we're trying to do in the programming stage, is get to that point where we can answer those questions.
But that's, the
Yeah,
study
that's
is,
part of that phase.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking. Will the study actually look at that
Right.
breakdown, not just one of the?
Yeah, it's part of the phase, is in the programming phase, they'll be looking at existing somewhere else. What do you need? What's the space you need for each department? Can you separate? Better to go high, better to go wide. All those things you look at in this programming, which are questions I can't really answer right now because I don't know.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to figure out, is kind of a more of the bullet point parameter of what the study will be looking for outside of just the building or refurbishing of the three different scenarios that we spoke about, the full breakdown of what we're all looking at.
Yeah, so the programming phase, obviously, the easy thing to say that our choices are do nothing, build a new facility, or renovate the existing facility. Those are the obvious choices that the programming. But one of the things that the programming is designed to do is to flush out those nuances, like we have talked about in the study group, that would identify how can we lower recidivism. Does the way a jail operates and the way it is built and the way it functions assist in lowering recidivism? Does the way a jail built or operates make it conducive to a lot more of the programs that Director Cope is able to administer in the Correctional Work Center? Those are the kind of things that the programming phase, will hopefully illuminate for the Public Safety Committee to say, okay, now we need to consider these factors in making our decision. This is why we're only at the phase of the stage at saying we need more information before we can even go forward as to what kind of facility do we need and what does that facility look like and how should it be constructed.
Okay, I think
So a lot of those questions you're answering hopefully should be answered in the programming phase.
yeah, it's starting to sound like I think my mind jumped to the next phase, asking the questions. At the same
It's easy to do that, Commissioner. I've done that many times.
Yeah, it's very easy to jump ahead, and a lot of them, we just don't have the answers. What we've established is a brush look that we have a need. We presented what our building's doing and what's happening to it. I think in the programming stage, we start looking at what are some of the solutions and how do you achieve what it is that we're looking at. So,
Sheriff, before we go further here, I did mention when I was speaking about the importance of the judicial system that's been with us too, that on these different meetings we've had individuals that have come over too. Several judges have been involved with us, and we have some with us tonight that's part of this. Especially we want to recognize our District Attorney General, Mr. Jennings Jones, sitting back here. We have a judge back here, Jimmy Turner, that's with us, and Judge Terry Fan. They've been here a part of it too. I'd like to give these individuals, if they want to make a brief statement, we'd like for them to do so too. We're not saying you have to, but if any of you would like to say something about this, we want to hear your statement about this too. You don't have to. I'm just I see you back here. You've made the effort to be here this evening. We want to give you that opportunity if you want to say something.
Mr. Chairman, before they come, a quick follow-up, please. Before they come, if they're coming.
We're going to ask that they come forward this time.
That's what I was asking, if they come. If not, I wanted a quick follow-up.
She said before they come, she's got a question.
Go ahead and ask your question. If one you will come up here while she's asking her question.
Just a follow-up with Commissioner James. The non-sentence is right about 70%. That's according to your report today. But relative to what Mayor Carr said, the questions that have been posed and any other additional questions, will they be presented to the committee so that that can be considered if we should move to the next phase?
If I could, the answer to that is absolutely. At each waypoint, there are several waypoints or go, no-go waypoints. We come back to this committee each and every time. As a matter of fact, the working group has asked Bart Klein to do the programming. I would expect that programming part to take 6 months. He's going to talk about that in a little bit. I would expect him to come before this committee at least once or twice during that process to inform the committee of that process so you can stay up to date and ask those questions germane to that part of the process. Does that make sense?
It does.
We will be coming back to this committee a number of times over the course of the next several years, again, to address those go, no-go points in the process.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo what the mayor says. At each stage through this, as we gather information and get more information, of course, this is the first stop as we come here and present what we know. And then, as the mayor says, there's stop points where at that point then is do we move forward, do we just, so that there's a checks and balances, I guess is a good way to put it. Yeah. Yes.
It sort of worries me when I see the Attorney General and two judges getting their heads together back there.
Commissioners, I don't believe that any of us have prepared anything for tonight. I will say that I have been in the district attorney's office for 24 years. I have seen the growth of the county. The point was made that the schools have seen multiple stages of growth, and new schools can continue to pop up, which is appropriate. The new schools are there because we have new population. When you have new population, you're going to have new crime. As crime increases, as population increases, you're going to have space to do something with it. And it is my opinion that a new jail is needed. I'm happy to attempt to answer any questions you might have, but be prepared for an I don't know.
Quick question, and forgive me.
Sure.
Can you give me your name, please? I'm Commissioner Hope Oliver. We haven't met.
That's quite all right. My name is Jennings Jones. I am the district attorney for Rutherford and Cannon counties.
Good evening, and I'll echo what General Jones says. I don't have any prepared remarks. My name is Jimmy Turner. I'm one of our circuit court judges. I handle a criminal court trial docket. Don't have any formal comments, but happy to answer any questions that I may be able to.
Good evening. My name is Terry Fan. I serve as a circuit court judge. I handle primarily at this time civil cases. Again, I guess what I thought when I was walking up here is I started practicing law in 1988. I remember when the jail moved from West Main out to 940 Salem Highway. Then I remember when that jail was outgrown and Sheriff Jones asked for funding. And when that high-rise was built, Sheriff, that was the premier. It was up to date. But little did we know, here we would be in 2026 and have the population growth. And with that population growth comes the element that in my law practice recently, I did civil litigation. I now, as one of the circuit court judges, sign search warrants and handle some of the criminal aspects every 5 or 6 weeks. And some of the crime that our law enforcement, General Jones prosecutes, Sheriff Fitzhugh is one of the agencies in this county that we have 5 or 6 of, they have to enforce. It's not when my boys were growing up and they were born and raised them here, it's a different level of crime. They can address that. I see that and having to review search warrants. But the security, the security that Sheriff talked about the lack thereof, the potential for problems is a real issue. I hope you will consider that.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anybody have any questions for this group? If not, we appreciate you being here. When Judge Fan talked about where the jail used to be out here on West Main, I can remember as a child when we drive by there, we always went that direction going back to Rockville. My father would always tell me, he said, that's where all the bad people are. You don't want to be there. And it stuck with me, and when I became a scoutmaster, I would take my boys to the jail and said, this is where you don't want to be. So it always played an important part. But I did want to introduce those, Sheriff. Excuse me for...
No, I appreciate that very much. I'll leave you with one thing, is if you have not been to our facility, I urge you to please come and let us take you on a tour. You can see what we're talking about. Sitting here talking about it does not do it justice. You need to see it. We would be glad to take you anywhere in that facility that you want to go, and we'll answer any question that you have. But I would encourage you to see it firsthand. Speaking to it and seeing it's way different. For those of us that's been in and out of it, we get to see it every day. So, but without that, Bart, if you want to wrap it up.
Hang on a second.
I'm sorry.
Question real quick. And mine's more directed to Mr. Hart and Mr. Bass, maybe. Either one of you two gentlemen, are y'all involved in the 41-day figure that the state provides all the counties for their state inmates?
No, sir, that's set by the Department of Corrections based on their annual funding.
We're at go status. I'm going to vote this all the way through. Background, you guys don't know, I was on here 15 years ago when we were chasing this tail with the state not providing us ample funding to be able to keep these state prisoners, and I see you shaking your head in agreement. I'm prior law enforcement. I'm a retired detective and worked several homicides and worked alongside the judges and District Attorney Jennings Jones to get these guys prosecuted and get a little bit of closure for these families. But as a county, we keep getting victimized, because if you take the numbers we heard today, our tax dollars, because we don't get nothing else, are paying between $3.2 and $5.9 million a year to house state prisoners. And it's not fair, and I don't know if we're going to have to, in part of this two-stage process of getting a lobbyist to get the state either to, I don't want the money, I just want them out of our jail. Because if we didn't have them, we'd be 800 consistently. While we need upgrades to the jail because of its age, we wouldn't have an overcrowding process. And I've been doing some homework on it, and Mr. Bass gave some figures earlier. 47% of our jails in the state of Tennessee are overcrowded. They're 90% or more. And I understand if you're under 90%, there's a difference between 100% overcrowded and under. So 47% of them are keeping state prisoners at some points what I think they would not go under. There's one thing I found in the last 5 months in East Tennessee. TV station did it, and 10 counties around East Tennessee were overcrowded. If you took the state prisoners out of those 10 counties, it made only 5. I can't find any here. I know Shelby County, when Safe Streets hit down with the federal people, they don't have anywhere to put their inmates, so they're farming them out to 3 other counties. At least 20 inmates have gone to 3 different counties where they're housing to help their jail population, which they're like us, they're way over, and it's a continuous problem where the federal government's got in. I got that, but I know it looks like I'm preaching to the choir on this, but at some point we've got to get our state to step up and quit victimizing all of us counties for these state prisoners. We did our job. The DA's office did their job, and the judge did right to make sure they had a fair trial. They're now to go away, and we got to fix that somehow. And I appreciate any help or things that you could give to our attorney. We've got a lobbyist here for our county that there's information you guys can provide to us that we can give to our lobbyists to try to lobby the state to be able to get us in part. I guess my last question is, are y'all aware of any county there's 125 jails is what I think I heard Mr. Bass say. Are any of them operating at $41 a day for those inmates?
I'm not aware of any, sir.
Yeah,
What would
I'm
be
not
the
aware
lowest?
of any. You know, the operational cost is individual, so, the number one thing that would have to happen is that jail would have to be amortized out, right? So we all know that's a jail that they don't own a note on, so that's a big one. So there are some jails out there that are doing, housing state inmates and, that are paid for, but you can imagine they're at least probably 25 years old. They're in need of doing some physical plant repair now.
Up until the year 2006, we were required on an annual basis, the start of every fiscal year, to complete a jail cost study. And it was about a 20-page document that would capture all the operating costs of the jail, not just the budget, but the physical plant note, any type of utilities that weren't included in the budget, ancillary support, such as a portion of the sheriff's salary, a portion of the chief deputy's salary, detective salary that supported background investigations or conducted investigations in the jail. All of those things were put together in this. And then we also incorporated into that jail cost study revenue that was generated through commissary sales, through telephone revenues, those type of things. And we submitted that at the end of every fiscal year to the Department of Corrections, the judicial cost accountant, to validate where we were as far as the operating the daily jail cost for the housing of an inmate. It was just a document. It was a very manpower intensive process to go through to submit it, and we did, but nothing ever changed. So it got to the point where I believe it was the Tennessee County Services Association, possibly the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, collaborated to have that requirement eliminated because nothing happened. There was no change. So it went away in 2006. I bring this up because in the last 12 months, I think we're on the third county right now that has asked us, CTAS, to come in and go through that document in their agency to get a good handle on what the actual cost per day is for housing an inmate in their facility.
Well, I'll just end my conversation with, I was on the commission 15 years ago, and I just got reappointed about 6 months ago to take over for another one. We were paid $36 in 2010, so we got a big whopping $6 in, 15 years? So we appreciate that $6, but it seems like we need to get it more in tap where it needs to be. Thank you, gentlemen.
And right now, just to give you a little more information, I'm not quite sure I heard it correctly. Sheriff Fitz, you mentioned the pay, but his pay's at $46. I think I'm correct about that because he's accredited, or $47 an inmate. But you're still right when it comes down to crunching the numbers. I will tell you this, a lot of folks don't know this, and I actually had a senator question me about this, and he wasn't aware of it. If you've got state inmates in the jail, we don't count those against you as long as you're not contracted. And Rutherford County is not contracted. So as long as they've requested bed space and they've asked TDLC to take them, we don't count them. And in your particular case, you're right, the numbers will be down around 800, but of course the evidence shows that that's increasing more every day. And not only that, your jail does have a lot of those physical plant problems that we've been talking about all night. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We do have jails that do contract, and when they contract, they're purposely overcrowding their jail. And they're trying to do it for financial gain. And Jim's right, if you haven't done that study and you don't look at it, well, does it make sense to do it, right? You have to make that decision. But that's a good line of questioning, and I appreciate your remarks. We need a female prison bad, and you could ask Gary, jail administrator, sheriff in the state, and he'd tell you that. Getting the males in can be a lengthy process. Right now, the TDLC's at a standstill. They have some of the same issues that sheriff departments have, retaining staff and having the bed space because of the influx. But The females, I guess, I don't know if Jim remembers or not, but I know they were talking about at one time building one over in Carroll County, Tennessee, over here near me in West Tennessee. It never materialized. I would like to see it. You can be talking 2 years getting a female in the TDOC, and that's relative. And another part of this is, since we're on TDOC inmates, and I'll make this brief, if they're serving less than a year, TDOC won't take them. The sheriff can attest to that. So if they'll say, well, they're at your jail, and we're going to give you this money to offset your cost, this $47. I think that's what sheriff's getting paid. It's not 41, I think it's 47. He gets the additional 6 for accreditation. By the time we process them and bring them into TDOC, it's already time to have their revocation hearing or their parole hearings or whatever. So we'd rather not mess the system up. Now, I'm not speaking for TDOC. I don't work for them. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that for sure. Mr. Coate may know. I know he's in the audience, but he can attest to that too, that if they're sentenced to less than a year, you're just going to be stuck with them. And I have had jail administrators tell me they 2 years. Anybody 6, 7, 8 years out gets moved, but not short term. But thank you for those remarks.
Mr. Bass, can you clarify what comment you just said? Because it sounded like well, I don't know what to say really right now, because the state is needing a female jail bad, so female prison bad. So,
I don't think they have enough. When I say that,
we're looking at Rutherford County citizens having to pay almost $500 million to build a new facility. And one of your arguments in favor of that is that the state needs, I don't think Rutherford County residents want to pay for the state's placement. I mean, that's what, I just want you to please re-clarify that, because that's how that came across to me, and I hope I have that wrong.
Let's go back. When we talk about the backup in TDOC inmates and then being held in the local jail, that's not what I'm saying at all, Commissioner. What I'm saying is that they need more female beds because they don't have enough, in my opinion, across the state. And again, I don't work for TDOC. So right now, you've got 130 females and 168 bed capacity, so you're good. But when we're talking to some jails, and they have females that are serving more than that 1 year, and they want to get them sentenced, what we're seeing and experiencing, we're being told it takes 2 years just to get them out of the jail and sent to the prison before they're accepted. So I'm not saying anything about that. Taxpayers of Rutherford County having to carry that burden. I'm saying the state of Tennessee needs to increase the female bed population.
Okay, thank you. I'll have to go back and watch the original, because it was kind of confusing. I hope I have it wrong. I believe I did. I want to make sure I do. But if I listen to what Commissioner Hall just said about if we didn't have the state inmates in here and the numbers that we're doing, take away the valuation per day, but looking at it, then taking your rebuttal about how you don't calculate the state inmates for overcrowding, as long as we're not on that plan that you discussed that we're not, then how does your very first opening statements come true when you said that even though you haven't done the inspection in 2026 yet, that we would fail if you did? How is that predetermined if you take the overcrowding out of the table?
I can't tell you where that number is going to be when we come to do that inspection. But all probability, it's going to be up or worse. So you would not meet the classification. You would be in problem with your certified capacity. Your capacity is at 960. So where are we going to be on day of inspection? And you got 1,055 today. We don't know the answer to that. But the probability, my experience is it's going to be worse. I can't call the sheriff and say, what's your population today? I'm gonna come inspect you. He's right, it's a surprise inspection, so we don't know what it's gonna be. So now, couple that with your physical plant. Your physical plant part won't be written up. You'll only be written up for the overcrowding and the failure to meet fixed ratio.
Can we move on from this right here?
I was going to say,
Because
I think we can
we have an
debate
answer.
this. We can debate this, but the problem is, we're going to have to build a jail no matter what. Even if we had 600 in there, that jail is not suitable for what we've got for the personnel and the staff we got. So we're building a jail no matter what, but we can kick this can later on with our lobbyists in the state. But yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Because we still have a full meeting to go after this, and I believe there's other things that have to be reported right here to finish out this method. Sheriff? This man hadn't had electricity for 3 or 4 days, so.
I'm a little tired.
That's not true, Mr. Chairman. He's had a generator for 2 days. He's reminded me of that on 3 different occasions.
2 hours.
So he's come in here on a generator and a prayer then, huh?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Klein?
My name is Bart Klein with Klein Sweeney Associates. So here to talk about the programming for the Rutherford County Criminal Justice Center or project. So just the programming phase. I had some statistics. You've heard a bunch of those. One thing I want to say that has been thrown around, TCI is the minimum standards. So we design facilities, we don't design to the minimum standards. When we're talking about recidivism, we're talking about mental health conditions, we're talking about today. That is what has to be done just to be certified. So let's make sure we understand that. Some statistics that you've heard, but the way I see it is original facility, everything we have there was designed for 484 inmates and 88 staff. You are 400% over capacity on your staff, and you're 200% capacity over your inmates. They're getting by and sitting in there. You've heard this whole conversation, oh, we can fit 850, but the truth of the matter is it was designed for 400 inmates. You can cut it any way you want, and you can say this square footage, but if we want to improve recidivism, if we want to be stewards to our community, and these are our community members, then we have to address it in design manner, not in a number manner.
I'm making notes too. Can you tell me they got 400 on staff, 200 on inmates?
Yes.
Thank you.
And some statistics. So I know I pulled these as I've been listening to all this information, but I kind of compared the statistics on population with where we are. 1990, 118,000 residents, 2020, 340,000 residents, 2024, 376,000 residents. That's about 300% increase in sheriff staff and about 200% increase. Do the numbers, they all kind of talk to each other. It's very interesting. One thing you may not be aware of, in 2009 to 11, our office was hired to do a study for staying at the existing site and expanding. I compared the analysis from 2011 to the CTAS report in 2025. We were calling for 70,000 square foot of sheriff space, renovating everything that was there of 30,000 square feet, plus 800 beds for a total of 1,600 beds in 2011, right? So now you got a study from 2025 that is saying 2,000 inmates. It's interesting because we have the study that was done by CTAS is a grant-provided study. You had a third-party consultant that did nothing. It was Don Stoughton, did nothing but statistics in 2009 through 11. And it's interesting to see and read the information with 15 years in between it, knowing you would be here in the condition you are. Ooh. Hold on here. The gas is going. And my battery's dead. Yes, okay, so I'm going to skip some of these because they were already discussed. Next slide. Okay, so program and team. So first, Klein Sweeney Associates, we're celebrating 70 years, but we've done 68 criminal justice projects. I heard one of the old ones, which I toured as a kid when my dad did Tennessee Prison for Women. We did West Tennessee Max. The latest larger one we did was the 812 bed for CJC for Nashville. We're doing a $500 million law enforcement training campus for the state, been working on it since 2015. These are large, complex projects with a lot of consultants and a lot of people with very specific information. My job is I manage all of this. That's my role. I'm the one with, you got my cell phone number if somebody's doing right, but I'm keeping everyone drumming at the same sheet of music. DLR group, some of you may know who DLR, if you get on AI and look at who is the #1 designer for these type facilities, DLR comes up time in, time out. You're awesome. DLR we're working with right now on TSU lab. If you guys are familiar with the new juvenile center that's being built in downtown Nashville, that's a DLR project. The last largest inmate population building, Bledsoe Prison, it's a DLR project. They're a good group. They're going to be over and helping with classification, programming, housing types, typologies, processing centers. They'll be integral to this phase. Krasinski and Associates, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical engineers, will be talking about looking at existing facilities, understanding what life we have in the facility, looking at the type of building uses, mechanical systems, if it's a geothermal system, if it's a VRF system, long time payback. SEC, civil engineer, local, if we're looking at the existing site or new sites, they'll be doing the analysis of the sites. TRC, our structural engineer, they'll be looking at the existing facility to understand what life is in that structure, how that structure can be reworked or worked with, and then also looking at stuff on new structures. Do we look at precast cells? All these different elements that come up when you start programming a facility of this magnitude. CEC are environmental engineers, so they get into the beads, the bunnies, and the dirt, what's under the ground, what the floodplain issues are. If we are staying at the site, it's got some things to overcome there from a floodplain issue for sure. R&N Systems Design, they are security system designer. They're out of Memphis. They work on everything detention, so if it's cameras, if it's locks. They're currently working with us next door in a juvenile center, working with us at Riverbend Prison, but pretty much they're involved in every corrections project that's ever been done in the state, and really in the Southeast. Dewberry Security Systems on the non-secure side, so everything about this facility is secure. So if you hear me say non-secure, I'm talking about the sheriff's space and not the detention space. They'll be specifically looking at card swipes and cameras on that side of the fence. Fire protection design, IS engineering, they handle fire protection. DRS, food service and laundry, so from meal planning, number of meals a day, laying out what the space would need to be, understanding the equipment, understanding different methods of how to do this, from quick chills to cooking on site. They answer all those questions. And geotech, GTA, they're basically our geotechnical engineers. So as we look at different sites, reviewing, understanding if we can get by with regular foundations or we need deep foundations. So the programming phase for this project is really to understand every mechanism that it makes to solve the solution. So going in here, what I tell my team is do not think you know the solution. We don't know if it's build a new jail. We don't know if it's doing addition. We don't know if it's revise the work center so it has more capacity and build something else. That's what this phase is to tell. So we go through all that phase. Our experience lies in every piece of this. So mental health is a big issue that you've seen in these type facilities that has changed over the years. That is an important item that we're going through. And then on the law enforcement side, you know, it's a large program for law enforcement. So if it was 70,000 square feet plus 30 renovated in 2011, I'm guessing it's probably 120,000 now, but don't know yet. That's what we have to determine. As we look at the overall schedule for programming, I break it into 3 primary groups. So the programming is going to last about 6 months. In yellow is programming, so that's site initiation, looking at everything, understanding. Our job over that 3 months is understanding how the sheriff and how the jailers operate on a daily basis. And then we gather all this information, and then at the same time, we're looking at different supervision types, different classification types, all that kind of information. So that's like the gathering of information. The blue is the site investigation. So if we stay, if we go, if there's 3 sites, if there's 2 sites, if there's four buildings they own, knowing everything from what is it, you know, if we sell these existing facilities and build new, what is the income that comes from that? We basically study the site, we study the facilities, get a good bill of health. The planning phase, which is the last phase, is where we take all this information and we come up with solutions. And those solutions will be what I would call a schematic level design of what these solutions could be. If it's build, add on, multiple facilities, and we vet them enough to know what's the building system. What, are we doing prefab cells, not prefab cells? Are they metal or are they precast? Are we building CMU and block? Down to what kind of recovery systems do we have? Everything, as much information as we can have so we know at the end of it that, hey, go in this direction is going to be a range of cost or exposure to the county of this, and going this direction, exposure to this, and there's pros and cons to each. And it's basically getting all of you that information to make those decisions. So just about the process, baseline, the first thing we'll do is update the program information we have now based off of everything we've done through 2009 to 11 as a starting point, but then looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, different group and different decision makers at the table. We'll visit comparable facilities, probably some in this state, some across the U.S. We talked about recidivism. I want to say there's some new things that have happened that DLR would like to show us, we can look at. But all of this, while we see all these things, it's just as important for us to hear what you don't like about it than what you like about it. And then we look at all this information because it's all about operations and what is the outcome of the facility type. As we move forward, you've heard about the meeting every month. So this is kind of, some of this is out of my bailiwick, but talking with the judges, talking with housing type, just, you know, all these different items that basically come into sizing a facility, which there'll be people that are specifically engaged that do nothing but talk classification, that be nothing but talk medical. Those are the professionals that'll be handling that aspect and working with the sheriff and the county on those aspects. So down to every space in the facility, there'll be a cut sheet that says what that space is, what piece of equipment goes in there, what is the electrical need in that space, what is that space supposed to do, down to the janitor closet. So you can take this booklet, and I'd say about the time it's done, it's probably going to be about 5 inches, and there'll probably be 2 of them. And this is similar to the last we did. And then that can be, anybody can build a jail off of that. Everything you need. All the decisions are made, the cost, all that figuring out, the big decision's done, and then you move to the next stage of actually designing the facility. So that's really what the programming phase is. We talked about, I'm running through some of this, so tell me if you want to stop. So sheriff support, you know, again, in 2012, that was 70,000 square feet of space. We look at vertical conditions, so I will tell you if we were to stay on the existing site, you'd have to do another housing tower. What's important to know about a housing tower is they're very expensive to operate. They require more man hours than something a little more horizontal. So we look at, you know, 1-story, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, and we compare what the operation costs are of those facilities. But also it has to do with site limitations. Typically, what I don't understand is, I wasn't there when you built the housing tower, but whenever we've done a housing tower, it's because we've been in an urban condition. You see that in downtown Clarksville, we have a housing tower that's 8 stories. You see that in Nashville. You typically don't see that in rather, you know, in a non-urban condition. After we get through the size and we know the spaces, then we look at adjacency. So just like how a factory operates and they make a widget, they want to know what the best way to make that widget and get through. Well, here we got to know what is the best way for the sheriff to operate. So we take everything from evidence control to processing and where are those located in relationship to one another, what are the spaces within those and how do they function and operate. And then we move into kind of schematic layouts. These are actually images from the 2008 study that was done of the existing facilities. So down to every space accounted for, make sure the sheriff and the county have signed off and said, yes, that's how we want to function. We get a good idea about that, and then we start looking at the classification. This is, again, what the other team members of mine would be doing. Staffing. This is an indirect model. So, for instance, when we talk about how many staff it takes to run a facility, so there's indirect, direct. You're going to hear those supervision types talked about throughout this process. This is interesting. So this is the staffing cost for facilities. So one figure I learned today is $80 million roughly is the budget for the sheriff. And so this is showing a design of one facility to operate in terms of man hours of roughly $600,000 a month. So if you think about an indirect versus direct, or a vertical design versus a horizontal design, if you could just change that number by 10%, you've made a big dent in your operational costs over the next 50 years. It's very important. And so that kind of comes alive in this programming phase. Again, direct, indirect, so you're going to hear this a lot, and I want to say where I think everybody is leading is a little bit of both to deal with that. Type of spaces. So construction types, is it block? Is it precast? Is it steel? And then the community part. So there's the meetings every month. There's also, we'd be coming here to the commission, giving that information to ask those questions. I would say the questions that I think I've heard you ask about, and you ask about, I would come to the monthly jail committee meetings where they really get in. They're going to be getting into the weeds on those questions some more, and I think those are a good place to have those questions answered. Overall project timeline. So if we started today with programming, you'd be 5 years till you can get a facility. So we're here to talk about programming. It's going to be about 6 months to get the programming process completed. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I guess just by your timeline, you're talking sites, if it's one site or two site, or presently, and I know one maybe that we might be looking at, but with us having to do this jail thing, and then also we pretty much need a whole new sheriff's office that goes along not only with this jail. We work like we talked about Don earlier, brought back good memories of, I was chair of property management, and we visited the courthouse in Murfreesboro as a part of us looking at building this new courthouse back then, as well as we toured the jail another month as far as doing that together. Did they leave the bus thing in the jail over here, or did they take it out?
Leave the what?
Bus entrance. So if we brought prisoners over in a bus, the original plan, we had a plan that had a bus entrance that would go in to be able to help these guys.
So
did they keep it?
It was, well, all I can speak of is what I was in the renovation to the existing. You can see that Sally port in the blue. See the bus? I mean, it's way bigger than what you got, but so.
Yeah, the existing courthouse over there.
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Mr. Commissioner, I believe I think it's for a van, not a bus. And I think Sheriff Fitzhugh, I think it's.
I know they were looking at kicking it out as they started.
Yeah, but I think it
accommodates
a van, a large van, but certainly not a bus.
I guess, Mr. Klein, I guess why I'm asking that is that trying to figure out this cost per prisoner, this 50-50 ratio or 70-30 ratio of taking these others and getting that cost per day down where it's not costing us so much. If it means that we build a new facility, then we try to renovate the other one as much as we can to be able to do the pretrial. I know some of the study that happened, they said it sounds like 50% of the arrests come in or out within 24 hours because they make bond and everything else. So it would still be conducive to that part of it. But it worries me on that site process of how quick, because we really don't own land right now. We're going to have to seek either contracts or negotiations to find that. How do you?
Yeah, so everything in yellow, and if you see on the blue, so the objective would be that we would identify sites in the next 3 months. So that's what needs to happen. I know there's conversations about a site, and I know it makes a lot of sense, but that's for you guys. you identify the sites, and then we tell you if those sites are, what the pros and cons of those sites are. So I don't want to get in, I'm not the one that gets into saying, hey, go here or go here. I will tell you that our corrections consultants may tell you from an operation cost, what are the pros and cons about where to go? And I would say there's a whole bunch of questions and meetings just about that.
How many acres, do you know anything about Knox County's jail, and they just did expansion, I think it's one level. Do you know how many acres that sits on up there?
I do not. I can find out. No.
I'm with you. I would hate to see it go inside the city limits just by what we just paid in schools as far as the Smyrna, Laverne, and Riverdale. When we did it inside the Murfreesboro, it cost us an enormous amount more money just because of their fee-in process and impact fees and everything else. So.
I have a quick question. In regards to your program, programming team, is SCC, are they the only local companies that's working with alongside?
They are local, but they are the only local. Everybody else is pretty much in Nashville. DLR is all across the U.S. They have a local presence in Nashville. There's really, the corrections, the truth of the matter is one, there hasn't been a 2,000 bed, or if that's a number, or 1,500 bed jail built in the state that I know of anytime soon, or I don't even think one exists. So finding consultants that have specific knowledge about these, there's very few design consultants in the county. But so when we move to one of the portions of the programming phase is going to be talking about the delivery of how the project would be delivered, construction-wise, if it would be a CM at risk, if it would be a hard bid. And so we actually have, before we did this for the state, we set metrics of, hey, we need a minimum of 25%, what is our minority women-owned business requirements for the project? What are our local requirements for the project? Right now, the money you're spending, while it's a lot more money than I got, you haven't got to the point where you're spending that big amount of money. But when you get to that point, you can write all those regs in there so you get local participation.
Mr. Chair, and this might be a question for Mayor Carr or Michael. What are we looking for from this body to move this forward?
Mayor.
What are we looking for tonight? I'm sorry, you
My apologies. Finance Director was giving me some numbers. Commissioner, say that again.
What are you looking for from us tonight?
So what we're asking for is to proceed a decision, a no-go or go decision on the programming, and a recommendation from the jail study group was unanimous for moving forward to programming at a cost of $650,000.
I'll go ahead and make that motion that we move forward.
Second.
Motion to move forward. Got a second?
Let me kind of follow up with that, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
You may.
Mayor, the programming and planning is a 6-month process. That will take that process to the end of this sitting county commission. So the next phase will be up to the new county commission as to whether or not to go forward with that. Is that pretty much correct?
No, that's exactly correct.
So this county commission can only carry it for the next 6 months to the programming place, and then the next sitting county commission will pick it up from there or drop it from there.
That's correct.
So what we would be out if we decided to drop it would be $600,000.
$650,000, Mr. Chairman. That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, so where does the $650K come from? Is that unassigned fund? Where does that money come from?
If I could, I'm going to ask our finance director to answer that question because he also has in my ear about a second motion we made. So, Mr. Chairman, if you would recognize our finance director, he can answer Commissioner Oliver's question, I think.
Recognizing financial director.
So there's several options. You're asking, was your question, where does the 650 come from? So we have several options. I'm going to give you at least 3. My recommendation would be that we finalize these options at the Budget Committee next week. But I will give you 3 easy ones now. They're not ranked in any specific order. One would be we could fund this through a future bond issuance. Another would be we could take it out of unassigned fund balance. And another would be that we have some leftover money in our capital projects funds that we move around to fund this through our capital projects fund out of existing funding that we already have.
With that existing fund, those existing funds, Michael, I'm sorry, Mr. Finance Director, would they come at a cost for other building projects that we have?
No, so I'll be specific, and I'm going to speak in average numbers because I don't have this in front of me tonight. And we're constantly, paying bills and stuff like that. That's why I say my recommendation would be for the budget committee to make that determination next Thursday. But as you know, we built the transfer station and we borrowed money for that along with several other things during that bond issuance, along with some schools, some road improvements and stuff like that. But you also know we funded the forensic center without borrowing. Sorry, it's that time of year, my throat. We have some other projects that we've also funded in-house. And so one of the recommendations would be to move some existing bond money to one of those projects that we funded in-house and to use that money, which is unrestricted, and move that to cover this programming phase of 650. So we'd be moving several projects around, but to answer your question, no, it would not affect any current project already approved. Ultimately, we came in under budget on several projects, the bulk of that being the transfer station, but there's several other projects we're under budget on. So we would move that excess funding to fund this. But we have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak, so that's why I gave you three options. I will go ahead and tell you I would not fund this through a future bond issuance, although that is an option. But that would not be my first recommendation.
The recommendation that you probably be let the budget committee make that decision. So if I'm not mistaken, the motion was to approve, but would a proper motion be to approve and forward the recommendation on to property management and then the budget?
That would be, that you could do that. We are scheduled to be at property management tomorrow, so we're already on the agenda. That may be a little redundant, but that certainly is okay. That's not an improper motion, Mr. Chairman, if that's what you're asking.
Thought I would think that property management would have better guidance if the recommendation to forward to them came from this committee with a positive recommendation.
Mr. Beverly,
I'll amend my motion to reflect it going to property management and then to budget.
then on the budget?
If you'll second that.
And your second will.
And again, we're just leaving it up to budget to, you don't have the numbers in front of you, but by that point, we can look at which path forward we want to take. But I agree, going to bond over this amount doesn't seem like a wise choice.
And those determinations be made through the budget?
Correct.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes,
Motion passes.
it does pass.
Mr. Chairman, one other item. Mr. Smith is in my ear. During the presentation, part of the programming phase is going to require part of this jail study group to make some visits to some facilities. That obviously can include some of the members of this Public Safety Committee if they so desire. Michael, we're going to need to move a little bit of travel money around so that we can do that. Will you explain that different request?
So part of this programming phase is, in a project this large, we want to make sure we get it right on the first time. We don't want to have regrets, with this large of a project, with this big an impact. So part of that involves going to look at other facilities, as Bart mentioned, and seeing what we like, what we don't like. And so we want members of this body, members of the sheriff's office, the mayor's office, things like that, to go tour some other facilities, ask questions. So we need some travel money to do that. We don't typically set that aside because we don't need it, but in this case, if you could pass a similar motion that you just did to forward that, that probably could go straight to budget. But to pass that, I have received a list of jails, potential jails, kind of in-state here that would be relatively cost-effective. However, those costs would go up if we go, to Arizona or somewhere out west. But we do need a few $1,000s, and I can come up with that budget amendment at budget if we want to go tour, let's say, Davidson County, Wilson County, things like that. If we want to take everybody as a group, we do need some money moved aside for travel to do that. So if you could pass a similar motion to what you just did, then we can take that up at budget as well and lump those all together.
Do we have that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to send, or to have Michael Smith prepare some numbers and send the budget for recommendations on travel.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion to send some of you to jail. So,
Nice.
any further discussion?
I wouldn't keep Arizona
Please call
off the
the
list.
roll.
I'd like to see that tent and them pink uniforms that they wear out there.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner McNamara,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino,
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Thank you for all those that have participated in this. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, if you don't mind, and then we'll be back. Before we begin, I do want to say thank you to all our public safety that in the past few days have been involved in dealing with all of the different forms of frozen precipitation we've had out here. We have snow, ice, rain, a little bit of everything. And I do appreciate each and every one of you, the Sheriff's Department, EMS, fire, public safety in particular, and all the things they have done. And just a special thanks to our Highway Department, the extra effort and the hours that have gone into that, and we do appreciate every bit of that. We'll begin with our emergency medical service.
Mr. Chair, if you'd entertain, I understand, I got emails all from Director Clark this week. I think he's had quite a bit. If it'd be okay with the committee, could we just bump him up and try to get him out and get him a night's sleep?
Absolutely. All right, emergency medical service, Brian Gaither.
I'm sorry, bump him up to the top of the agenda. Director Clark.
I didn't understand.
Can we move Director Clark up to the top of the agenda?
Oh, okay. Where'd he go? Is he back there?
While they're getting them, Mr. Chair, I'd like to also thank our utility departments for all the work and preemptive work they've done. We could be in a lot worse shape if you're looking at just our neighbor in Nashville, what they're going through right now, and how much power we've had. It was a good approach from them and the preemptive.
They are. They've had a lot of problems. I talked to someone today who was talking about all the electrical problems that are having with NES and Nashville in that direction. One of their problems right now is the fact of the growth that they've had there, and that's one of the problems that's causing a lot of this. Also, a special shout out to Middle Tennessee Electric. I don't know if y'all followed that all these past few days. I sat there and watched what would go out and where it was going out and all these different things. You got to remember that Middle Tennessee Electric has a quite extensive vegetation program where they remove a lot of trees, a lot of things in their lines, especially in the rural areas. I noticed in the rural areas there was less power outages than anywhere else in this county. And that's because those trees were removed away from those lines back in the spring and the summer. I know a lot of people got upset that they cut down my trees and things, but they didn't lose any power during this right here. So we need to congratulate them for a job well done and what they have done to keep our people going. And this man right here, I think he spent a few hours involved in this situation. And we'll give him some credit there for what he's done, and I'll let you, and because of that, we've had a gentleman here ask for you to go first.
Thank
you. You get to jump the crowd tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'd like to see my house at some point. It's been
Go right
it's
ahead.
been a crazy day. So hopefully in front of you, you've got a report from December the 1st to December the 31st. I will say that it doesn't hold a candle of what's happened since last Saturday. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Chairman, and I have not brought this to your attention, there's a couple things real quick. One is an update on the winter storm here recently. I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved, our citizens that have heed patience, our public safety that has ran their tails off. I will tell you, ambulances yesterday had 189 calls for service yesterday. Our law enforcement, sheriff's department, Murfreesboro Police Department, fire departments, EMS, everybody has come together. Our Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, Rutherford County. I just can't express the gratitude of the collaboration and friendship that's come along with this. We manned the EOC 24/7 since Friday or Saturday, and it's been a humbling experience to be able to be with these people. Greg Brooks, phenomenal job. Raymond Hillis, Tom Rose, Michael Deeks, all of those street departments have laid it on the line. Middle Tennessee Electric, been in a lot of contact with them and making sure. At one point we had 650 people without power. You blink and they're back up. I will tell you that we had to open up a shelter last night at the, I think it's Town End, there on, behind the vocational building there on Old Fort. Currently, right now, we have 43 people that we're sheltering there. They had a water line to break on that facility. These people had nowhere to go. We spooled up a shelter. They're doing good. I just came back from that place just a minute ago to coordinate between the shelter and that hotel. Phenomenal. And we have some really, really good people, and they're tired, they're worn out, they're beat up. Several house fires, so it's something really to be proud of. So.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I had quite a few people mention to me that they really appreciate this service that you provide, during the snow and rain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments?
Also, I have a request for an application for a grant.
Well, just a moment. Do that. Let's get vote on your report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Your report has been approved. Now, your next piece of business?
Yeah, so it's been brought to my attention as we were walking in today that we've got a Homeland Security 2025. We'd like to apply for this grant. It's 100% reimbursement. We do it every year, along with approval to apply for a similar grant. It's called the UASI grant, Urban Area Security Initiative. We will have approximately $800,000 of equipment requests. This is an annual event. Need your permission to move forward.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve. Have a second?
That's not here. So tell me a little bit more about what is this grant you're applying for and what does it do?
It's a Homeland Security regional grant. We all, for 5 different counties, come together to make basically a program that in the event something happens, this is what we do. That equipment can be sent to different locations. So we all come together as a region and purchase this equipment.
And the type of equipment?
Anywhere from trailers, UTV, we got medical equipment, trauma bags, active shooter equipment, those kind of things.
Thank you.
Did I get a second on that? Yes. Okay. All right, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Chirino,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And whoever asked to move me up, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll move back up to the list. Mr. Brian Gaither.
Mr. Chairman, while he's walking up, can we start considering all of our departments heads and so on that have worked full days and everything, and we have guests, to try to let them come up and present first and allow them to get through their day and get out if they don't want to sit and stay? Just speaking in general terms to consider that for future.
Whatever. Whatever the committee wishes. So you won't,
I'm just saying if we put them on the agenda, if we could try to look at the idea of letting them move quicker in and out, since this is the very end of their day for presentations, especially when something like this, when we have presentations that could run really long, just for consideration.
Commissioners?
My only issue with that, like we had these guys that called in, they're off-site, maybe if it's an on-site presentation, but when we got off-site non-members, I kind of like them being first, but that's only my opinion.
I agree with him. Maybe another business, we can talk about that a little more, but we want to get them out of here. I agree with you, though.
Mr. Gaither.
All right, so for the month of December, we had 4,042 calls, response time of 7 minutes and 11 seconds. We had 177 DOAs, 31 of those went for autopsy. We collected $916,001. The rest of that is our maintenance cost per mile. Next page is some training and in-services. Our convalescent did 299 calls, collected $98,951. The next few pages is that more detailed report. I would like to call attention to the back page. That is the newsletter from Tennessee Department of Health, State of EMS. Back about 3 months ago, one of our Smyrna crews, Kayla Harney and Maggie Allen, they had a premature birth, 23 weeks. The infant weighed 1.5 pounds. They were not breathing when they came out. They successfully resuscitated the child. This quite possibly is one of the youngest field resuscitations that has ever been successful. That crew is still in contact with this family. Baby is doing well today. So just wanted to draw attention to that, and I think you'll probably be hearing more about that as we go forward, but that's a huge deal there. And that's my report.
You've heard the report. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Approve in a second. Any discussion?
Just to bring up, you left a note in there from Atlas, Jennifer Johnson, you guys raised over $7,000 in there. I think that's absolutely amazing. If anybody looks up just for a minute what the Atlas program with feeding the homeless kids we got in the school system, it's an amazing program, and I thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
No further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Your report has been approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Fire and Rescue.
Good evening. This year, for the year 2025, we ran a total of 8,636 calls. The front sheet shows the number of fire calls with 303. EMS and was 4,704, and that includes all MVAs, extrications, and entrapments. Next sheet just kind of gives you a breakdown of each category and what those numbers were. Next page is a breakdown of the MVAs, which 322 is MVAs with injuries, and 324 is MVA without injuries. and 17 extrications. The 323 is pedestrians. And then the next sheet is a breakdown of all the departments in the county for a total call volume of 9,265 calls. We had 33 smoke alarm installations, so that was a good month for smoke alarms. And then your next sheet is your Rutherford County Fire Marshal's report of arson explosions investigations. And then the next sheet is the results of all the incidents we had in the county and what the outcome was. And as a part of this, Commissioner Rick Hall sent me an email from a young lady who contacted him, and I'd like to read what she wrote. She said, "I'm writing to commend Rutherford County for the excellent services provided by the Fire Station 52. On December 11th, the crew responded to my request for assistance with my smoke alarm system in Cascade Farm subdivision. The gentlemen were entirely professional, very knowledgeable, promptly took care of the issues at the time, and were able to explain other fire company services for which I am eligible. As a 75-year-old widow who lives alone, I cannot begin to express the measure of gratitude I have for them all, as they left me with more confidence in myself as a homeowner, as well as recommendations for a plan for my continued safety. These must be among Rutherford County's finest of the finest. Sincerely, Martha McCarty." I was very appreciative of that, and thank Commissioner Hall for sending that to me. And that completes my report.
Mr. Chairman, I just want, for record, we don't have our report on our iPads.
Your report's not on here, or I don't.
Yeah, we don't have it, but you gave it to us. It happens.
That must be.
Y'all must have been a little busy.
I might have forgot to scan it in there. It's been a wild week.
That it has. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve, though, based on what he's provided.
Second.
Have a motion made and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It has been approved.
I'll be sure to put that on next time if it's my fault.
I thought, have I missed that tonight? I just wondered. Sheriff? Chief Spence?
Good evening. I'm just going to go over the weather report of related incidents our deputies dealt with all weekend. They had 78 escorts, and that was detention staff, medical staff at the jail, and our dispatch. They worked 28 non-injury accidents, 10 accidents with injuries, 68 ambulance calls, 6 structure fires, 5 domestics, 4 hospital duties. We had an inmate in the hospital, 28 lines down, 62 traffic hazards, 1 water rescue. We had a car to run off in the Elam's Mill slab. That's the end of my report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved and second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Hey, Chief, I do have a question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
No.
I got an email, and I think we all got this email, about signage for scam warnings. And I was wondering, what is the protocol as far as if we wanted to do some type of warning signage on vending machines, et cetera, to warn citizens of possible scams? What would be the process to go through for that?
You say vending machines?
I have the email in front of me, but basically this happened, and I'm looking at it right now. It was Coin Hub, as a matter of fact, and it was relative to this citizen's parent that was scammed. And so she's requesting to find out what we would do as far as signage to warn citizens about possible scamming when it comes to Coinbase or cryptocurrency. Is there anything that we could do as far as that vending machinery or whatever in the county?
Some of those machines have notices on it to beware, but we'd have to get with the owner of the machine to get permission to put it on there. We do put advertisements on Facebook and Twitter about warning people about scams at the sheriff's office also.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. PAWS?
Good evening. You have a copy of my report. I'll try to be brief on that. Our live release rate was 83.6% for dogs, 95.8% for cats, and we had a euthanasia rate of 9.3% for the month. For our rabies and bite exposure report, that does go by calendar year, so we finished out the year with 422 bites, 11 animals tested for bites. None of those came back as positive. We had 114 other exposures with 13 sent for testing. 6 of those came back positive or unsatisfactory. The last page of the report is just the graph that I give you all that shows you the outcomes. I did also lay on your desk for all the commissioners here this evening. We did a 2025 year in review for PAWS this year, and for the other commissioners, it's been placed in your mailbox downstairs. That's the end of the report, sir.
You've heard, have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? You have a budget, I believe, amendment?
Yes, sir. So next is a budget amendment, and I do have some grants as well.
Okay.
For the budget amendment, this is asking to move money from unassigned fund balance over into the PAWS budget. This is for POs that were issued last fiscal year that were erroneously liquidated, so it's to put that money back in for the expenses that were incurred.
A motion, approve, and a second. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner James? Yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly? Yes. Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
The next item that we have for your consideration are 3 grants. Two of these are ones that we've applied for in the past. The other one is a new one for this year. None of these require county matches. The first one is the State of Tennessee Animal Friendly Grant. Funds are used to provide spay and neuter services for low-income residents. Second one is Petco Love Animal Welfare Organization grants. These have to be used for life-saving amounts. The amounts vary on what they give on that. The new one is for Hill Science Diet Food, Shelter, and Love Adoption Grant. Funds have to be used for adoption events. I do not have the amounts that they will allow you to apply for, or any of those details, but I am asking for permission for us to apply and accept if received. Again, no county matches on these.
Motion to approve?
A motion to approve and a second on this grant. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly? Yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes,
Motion passes.
it has passed.
Thank you all.
Mr. Gregory.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just wanted to thank you for whoever's idea and whoever put this together. This was very helpful. This was very good to see, a good breakdown for the year. I do have one question based off of it for you. Just
Okay.
On the first page, when the adoptions other 5.4%, cats, dogs, and other. I was not aware of other. Could you give me some examples of what the other?
The bigger part of that is going to be, we had a case back in August and September that involved 30 or 40-something birds, and that was the other. So others would include those birds, rabbits, guinea pigs, ducks, chickens, those type things.
It's just a good thing to remind us every once in a while that it's not just the usual cats and dogs.
Oh, definitely not. No.
But again, whoever's name was attached to this, I really appreciate this. This was helpful to see.
A lot of our staff, a lot of work went into getting that together, and we've never really done a yearly victory lap, so this is something that we kind of want to do every year. There's some great adoption stories and things like that, so it gets a lot of the good work that we do out for the public.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Risk management, Mr. Ed Elam.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ed Elam, Insurance and Risk Management Director. For the month of December, the incident frequency, you had 19 total. Board of Ed had 11. Rutherford County General had 8. Highway had 0. Rutherford County General Building Codes had 1. Juvenile Detention Center had 1. Sheriff's Office had 5. Solid Waste had 1. Your incident frequency for the calendar year, you had 200. There are 236. OSHA recordables, there's 185. Lost day claims, 47. Restricted day claims, 103. Other recordables, 35. Reserves that we have is paid out is $65,548. Year-to-date reserves is $1,056,586. Year-to-date total is $668,443. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Heard the report.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, report has been approved.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Recovery Court. Michelle Ricks.
Good evening. The Recovery Court report for December. Our DUI program had 21 day clients and 30 night clients. Our drug court had 53. Mental health court had 46. And our veterans court had 25 with a total of 175 clients. We had 17 new start in December, 8 completions and 2 terminations. And that concludes my report.
Heard the report. Motion to approve. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, it has been approved.
Thank you. Good evening.
Probation. Ms. Kelly Haley.
Good evening. You should have my report for probation for December of 2025. During the month, we were able to close out a total number of cases from probation of 184. That was cases. That was 152 clients. We were actively supervising at month end 1,420 cases. During the month, we had in our various programs and classes 65 participants, 21 successfully completed during the month, 2 were discharged unsuccessfully. Our office, our treatment case managers in our office completed 21 drug and alcohol assessments and 6 mental health assessments for our clients during the month. We have 9 of our clients actively in the Ten Rocks Court. We were able to assist 12 clients during the month with items in our olive branch, and I did put in there 10 of those were with food, 2 were with clothing. At the bottom of the report, we sent $21,292 to the clerks to go in payment plans for the month of December, bringing that fiscal year total to $120,466. The amount that we sent for clients that don't currently have a payment plan was $4,518, bringing that amount to $36,229 for the fiscal year so far. And that would be my report.
Heard the report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Approved. That was a second.
I do have a quick question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. As far as your olive branch program, did you get a lot of requests this week, or how's that coming as far as resources?
Well, not so much this week. I mean, today would be the first day that our office had been open this week. We did have what seemed like more of a request for food and supplies in the month of December. We did receive large donations of clothing and shoes for the month, so we're really stocked with that if someone needed it. But as far as this week, again, it would have just been today, so I didn't really notice it.
So you don't have like a hotline or anything that people
No,
can call?
ma'am.
You have to necessarily be open for people to access the resources, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, and
Okay.
it's in our office. Typically, the way that happens is when clients come in to see the probation case manager that they're reporting to, In that conversation, case manager is usually going to kind of see, hey, how's it going? Where you living? How are things going? If they mention that they're in need of that kind of stuff. And a lot of times they've gotten stuff out of either the clothes closet or the food closet before and knowing they'll ask. But usually it's clients that are in our office and the probation case manager, kind of be like, hey, can we get you some shelf-stable stuff that will help you out for a little bit?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Okay. I think we've already, I know we hadn't had the vote on it. I know we had the second and all that, and we asked for it, but then all those in favor say aye. Those opposed? It is approved.
Yes. All right, thank you. Thank you. You too.
Correctional Work Center, Mr. Cope.
Good evening or morning, whichever one it is. In your packet, you will find the meetings for our January 5th meeting. Next in there is our work release program. That thing is still absolutely going great. In the month of December, we had 2 people who completed the program. One did accept their job at C&M Cabinets and continued to work after release, and one had a job waiting on him outside, so he did not continue that job that he had while he was incarcerated. Next, our yearly activity report. In the month of December, total trash collected on county and state routes are as follows. County roads, we collected 10,900 pounds, and then state routes, we collected 461 bags. Monthly worker report shows a total combined savings to the county of $65,392 using offender labor. And then the back there is our continuous quality improvement statistics. And as usual, streak I've been trying to keep for a long time now, no open positions, no budget amendments, and no requests. One thing I would like to do is thank and congratulate our staff. Correctional facilities do not close down in inclement weather, and we had no call-ins. Everybody was there on time, and we made sure that all of our staff was safe during those times, and just want to let them know that they are well appreciated for that. That is for my report.
Any questions? Have a motion and a second over here. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? It is approved.
I'd like to add our appreciation to that as well. You're mentioning your staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And all the staff that did show up.
That's right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Juvenile Detention. It's Lynn Duke.
Good evening. In front of you, you have our report for the past month, starting with our board minutes, followed up with the information that you're used to seeing. If you have any questions about any of that information, I'll happily answer it.
Second.
We've had I think we had the motion and a second right there. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
I do have something. I'm going to take a moment since I'm last, and since we sat for 2 hours and watched the information regarding the Sheriff's Department, and I'd like to remind y'all, if you do take it up under other business, that there are directors that have young children that have sat here tonight that are not going to get to see their children before they go to sleep. We have directors who have purchased hotel rooms because they knew they might not be able to get in from out of town during the weather. And I also wanted to express my sincere thanks to the Correctional Work Center This weekend, I had 2 employees that had to file OJI claims. The maintenance department did put out brine at our facility. The Correctional Work Center also put down salt. Just wasn't enough. I had 2 employees that failed this weekend. And I reached out to the maintenance department, and the maintenance on-call employee lived in Manchester and was unable to get to town. The department itself was not working because the county was shut down. So I reached out to a member of the maintenance department and asked if, since I had drove in from Eagleville, if I would be able to go to the maintenance facility and get some of the equipment that we needed. And I was told that it would take a bit for his vehicle to thaw, and that they could probably be there in an hour. In the meantime, I reached out to, as I said, the Correctional Work Center. And before I even got my request fully explained to them, they had a member of their staff outside with a shovel. And they shoveled the sidewalk to and from our facility. We take and collect food 3 times a day using that sidewalk. And they took care of it. So I want to thank the Correctional Work Center for having a good understanding of what the department's needs are. And just wanted to share that.
Correct to hear you that you said that the on-call individual was not truly on call in this case?
Well, I think that they were on call, but they lived in Manchester. So that didn't help me, but.
Doesn't sound like a real, I'm wondering what our policy is for on-call. What that would, if you're on call, a certain amount of time response would be kind of, that's something on hash later as we move forward with this. But thank you for letting us know.
No problem.
And thank you again for the Work Center for them assisting you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. And
Okay.
if I might add, that's just another issue of our employees having to live outside of the county, which is an issue.
That's all the reports. Have other business?
Well, I had mentioned, and I would like us to consider and see what we could do moving forward anytime we have any kind of outside the normal agenda or a group to come in like that. Maybe we can bring them or put them at the end, bring our usual docket ahead of them unless there's something, or do like we do with our full commission when we have, after, 6:30, we immediately jump into the agenda. And that way we get a lot of the ones who are here all day, every day, kind of work through the process.
This was an unusual situation. We knew we had these other individuals that were going to be on here, and we thought we could move that quicker. I understand what you said there, but we decided to do that one first, or the mayor decided to go. That was the committee asked that they could go first with that, and that's how that happened. And maybe next time we'll look at it a little differently.
I'm just utilizing the chairman's discretion to look for consideration moving forward as we go on something like that. Maybe something, especially as big of a topic as this one would have been, we tell them, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, into it to come online.
Can I explain something else there too? A new jail and what we were talking about here in law enforcement, whatever, affected almost the majority of those individuals that were sitting here too. So they needed to hear what we were talking about. So that was important as well. But we never know in our agendas exactly how long we're going to be here and what we're doing. So once the agenda has been set and we're going that direction, that we run that way, I tried to move it after that as fast to get them out of here and get everything taken care of that we need to take care of as far as business. But you never know how many questions are going to be asked, how much information is needed, and where we go from there. Yeah, we could have had them first, and they would all been gone and done that. But
Well,
Next time we can do that.
That would have given them the option, not required to be here, the option to stay if they need to get the information or pick it up on the back end. And that's all I'm asking for, is just to think of that and for future considerations, just to find some kind of plan for that or move forward. I even asked that for Chairman Phillips to consider with the rest of our committees as he goes around to kind of ask of those possibilities. And it's up to the chair's discretion, but it's something that we should kind of look for, maybe plan for future, and especially after the week they had in this case.
Your remarks are taken. Anything else?
I do have a question. Two of the PowerPoints were referred to during that initial presentation that we don't have on the SharePoint. Is there a way we can get those?
I think the only one that you have on here is one that Bart Klein had.
Right, but they referred to two others that we don't have. So I was just wondering if we would get that information.
Sheriff's was one of them, and
I didn't load the sheriff's, but I can see if I can get that for you. I loaded Bart's, so I can send you that, but I don't have the other.
it's what the sheriff was using. He had two PowerPoints.
It was two. Yeah, I would like to see those to be able to look at that a little bit
I
better.
can send you Bart's, that's not a problem. That was one of the two, but,
Well, Bart's, that's this one right here.
that's this one.
Yeah, so we have that one on here. I was just wondering about the other two that the
Yeah, the other
Sheriff's
two.
Department shared.
Not on there?
No.
Just this one.
I will, I know that he worked directly with Director York and got those loaded this afternoon sometime, so I will get those.
Thank you so much.
But if you request it, then we can get those too. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned.